Joining us out here on the Ohio Ag Cadet, Jim Case of Case Farms, and we're going to be talking about a pretty unique item that's behind us here today. You know, as you roll into the parking lot, you might say, hey, what is that, a big wood splitter or otherwise? Well, no, it's a soil testing unit, and let's talk about that and how exactly we're using it on the farm. Jim, tell us more about it.
Well, we developed this about 4 years ago. We've worked with it, and I got the idea because I went out and did manual hand sampling, and it got pretty intense. It was a lot of work, so we wanted a way to cover a lot of acres a lot faster and do a really good job, get it random samples and not just take samples out of the middle of a 2.5 acre grid. So we started with that idea. We've kind of kept working with it, and finally we've ended up with an aluminum unit that's light and that we can use, you know, and it's fairly fast. If we do small grids where we don't have to move a lot of distance between cores, we can do 3 probes a minute with it. So it's a fairly fast unit.
Let's talk about the Soilhawk. How does it work out in the field?
Actually, we designed this when we talked about making an automatic unit. We wanted to make sure that it replicated what you would physically do in the field. So we designed a scraper that will actually remove the residue or debris before we take a sample. Because if you leave that debris in, your sample's skewed right to begin with. So we concentrated on that. We've got a scraper that we put on it. So the scraper will move down, remove the debris, and then the probe actually takes the sample and deposits in a bag. And we use a remote from the Polaris. We press one button and the whole process, it takes about 20 seconds to complete, but during that process we can be moving on to the next sample. So about 5 to 6 seconds for the actual probe to come out of the ground, then we move on to the next probe site.
And in front, you know, we don't have to use a tractor for this unit. We can use, say, a Polaris or otherwise, and you've got a camera monitoring the whole thing up there.
Yeah, we've got a camera that we put in the Polaris so we can actually see what's going on. You know, if something fouls up, we can shut it off right away. But yeah, the nice thing about this, we can hook this to a Polaris, we can hook it to a small pickup, or even a large pickup if you want to, and it's highly mobile. We've developed a trailer that'll tow this thing and makes it very easy to get around in and out of fields.
How many samples can you do in one go by this system?
We've got 30 bags on here, so we can do, you know, we can do up to 10 cores a bag if we want to. So we can sample quite a bit depending on the size of your grid, of course, or we do a lot of zone sampling ourselves. So we've also set it up so we can have manual samples, so we can, if we get into a zone, then we want to take a few more samples, we can do that. We have a choice of 5, 6, 7, 8, or 10, 9 or 10 cores, so we can just flip a switch for whatever cores that we want to do in a grid. So pretty easy to do.
And those probes and the cores can come from different depths, just deciding on what the tester needs.
That's right. We've got 2 bolts on the tester, so we can just loosen those up, and it's very easy to set the depth for, you know, 6, 7, 8 inches or whatever you want to sample at.
You know, you're going to go down the road and you're never going to see another one like this, at least right now, because it's all coming from this shop behind us right now. Everything pretty much on there has been made by you guys. Tell us about that process.
Well, I've learned how to do CAD drawings, so we do our own CAD drawings, and before we started this whole process, we made a plasma cutter to a machine type plasma cutter, a water table, so we could actually do precision cuts with it. So we developed that, got that working. I've learned to do 3D printing because we'd use a lot of 3D printing for the prototypes on this stuff. And so we do a lot of 3D printing, and we've done a lot of modeling, and it by learning to do the modeling, that saves a lot of time on the setup because you can see what's going to happen before you actually do it. So it saved us some time that way. And then I've also learned to program the PLC. I went to school to learn how to program the PLC and wrote my own program for the unit. So we had some time in that, learning that process, and it's still evolving, but we're getting there.
So truly a homemade product, but a few years in the making up to this point.
Yeah, we started about 4 years ago, and the first unit we made was a steel unit, and we ran it by some guys, and they say, hey, that's a nice unit, but you really need something lighter to get on wet soils a little sooner. So we took their advice and switched to aluminum, and then we learned how to weld aluminum and did that. So yeah, it's been a process all the way, but it's something that we've kind of proud of.
Who are you really hoping that this goes to the use of down the road?
Right now, we're targeting co-ops and people that do a lot of large-scale soil testing, fertilizer companies, and that's our target market right now. Although for large farmers, and we've got a lot of large farmers in the area that do a lot of soil testing. If you're doing a significant amount of soil testing every year, this unit, the payback on it would be pretty quick.
And when do you think you'll be having it to market? Still probably some things to iron out, but maybe soon?
Yeah, we're getting ready to bring this to market. I think we've got all the bugs worked out now, so we're taking orders.
How can they contact you?
Soilhawk.com is our website, and there's a phone number on there or email, whatever, if they want to get in touch with us.
The Soilhawk, a piece of work, a piece of artwork really out here on the farm, created by Jim Case of Case Farms outside of Delaware. Soon to be available to a farm near you or a co-op near you, and a pretty impressive piece of work. Jim, thanks for telling us more about it here today.
Thank you.
For the Ohio Ag Net, I'm Joel Norwood.